For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod driveline components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Hey, it's Antron Brown, driver of the Macro Tools Top Fuel Dragster, and yes, I'm a 3-time world champ. But you know what? When I win, I go straight to WFO Radio, baby. I want to see you listening in.
WFO! It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back for the first time in 2023. Let's get this party started. NHRA drag racing. We're going to be talking motorsports. We got the voice of NHRA Alan Reinhart going to be joining us just seconds from now. It is going to be great. Happy New Year to everybody out there. January 3rd, first show. Connected with the Patreons a little bit earlier today, and it is just super exciting to think about what lies ahead. The Gator Nationals in March, NHRA Divisional Racing in Orlando in February. Got the World Series of Pro Mod going to be happening in Bradenton, Florida. So much going on. I'm super excited. Hopefully, you all had a great New Year and holiday season. I know I did. It's not over yet, by the way. This is like I thought to myself, man, I got to reconnect with everybody. I know a lot of people are on vacation till next week, teachers, and a lot of people are on vacation till next week, especially here in Florida, but had to jump on here, say what's up, talk about the news. So much news. Obviously, the passing of Ken Block, that's big news. What happened in the NFL the other night made me think, man, you know, as a motorsports reporter, we have so much experience in that area that obviously the NFL media did not have. That's definitely a media storyline. We're going to get into all of that. Some big stories happening with Stevie Fast. We're going to get into all of those things. But first, let me tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO Radio. I really appreciate our sponsors, and a lot of them are back for 2023, some new ones for 2023, like the folks at Foggit. Super excited about the high-performance fogging oil developed by Gary Stinnett. In his years of experience, Gary knows that you got to protect your engine. There's some videos we've been sharing out there. You spend all this money to build the engine. You spend all this money to get the best parts and pieces. You spend all this money and time and research and effort to make things absolutely perfect, to dyno test it. And then when you put it in your trailer, you're slowly destroying it because of condensation. It is kind of a bad deal. Well, Gary has invented Foggit. Go to the website, foggit.com. You can get there through WFO Radio to find out how you can save the inside of your engine by doing a very simple procedure at the end of each race day when you put it away. It's as simple as that. Go to foggit.com. Folks at Phillips-Connect.com back on WFO Radio. Appreciate these guys, Smart Trailer Technology. And if you've got trucks, if you've got a fleet of trucks, 100 or more, reach out to me, Joe at WFOradio.com, because I can put you together with the folks at Phillips Connect and find out how to keep your loads and your trailers and your drivers and everybody around them so much safer. Phillips-Connect.com. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Were you watching the New Year's Nationals? Were you watching the Christmas Bracket Bash? Bradenton Motorsports Park has been rocking out over the past couple of weeks. This is their time. They've owned the winter break, and it has been pretty amazing to watch. But every car down the track, maybe not every car, but so many FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters going deep in the rounds because they repeat. But not only that, if you make big horsepower, high horsepower, I had somebody tell me it's like the real difference. There's a lot of great transmission and torque converter folks out there, but the real difference is when you really pour on the power. FTI can live up to that power. So check out FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Have you refreshed your engine yet? Well, if you need to, you might want to throw in some Total Seal Piston Rings. We've got something very cool coming up January 13th and 14th. It will be streamed live. It is called the Engine Performance Expo. If you've been following the Hidden Horsepower podcast, you've been hearing all the star-studded engine builder interviews from last year as a way of hyping everybody up. George Bryce is the most recent one. And we're talking about ring seal. We're talking about cylinder finish. We're talking about just tips and tools and information for engine builders out there. It's the Engine Performance Expo. It's coming up January 13th and 14th. Go to YouTube and type in Engine Performance Expo, and their channel will come up. You can subscribe. Of course, you're subscribed to Total Seal, and you're subscribed to WFO Radio. You better be. But you're going to be able to watch it live January 13th and 14th. Star-studded list of engine builders going to be participating, and some reveals on the tune of the Engine Performance Expo engine, all that going on. But it's all an exercise to let you know about the importance of ring seal. TotalSeal.com. And then Bernie's Speed Shop, Ocala, Florida. Josh Hart. I was really bummed Josh couldn't make it on our holiday show. Speaking of which, the holiday office party for WFO got very good listenership. More on the audio only podcast feed than on the YouTube channel, which is a shame because we had such a great fun time. It was good stuff. First show of the year, guys. Bear with me. Bernie's.com didn't get Josh on there. He was like attending to something of importance, but we're going to get him on here in January. And one of the fun things that our listeners have been doing is going to Bernie's.com to check out all the awesome inventory. Now, they didn't have an old school CUDA for Alan Reinhart, but they got Bentleys and they got Corvettes and they got all kinds of cool stuff. So go pick your favorite. Check out the inventory at Bernie's.com. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about Sam Tech. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school. A lot of people hitting it up during the winter break. And I'll tell you about Rodax Coffee and Grills.com. Super excited about all of those things. But right now, we're going to head out to Tucson, Arizona and check in with the voice of the National Hot Rod Association, Mr. Alan Reinhart, who's got a sweatshirt on. What's up, AR? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a little chilly here this week, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. And all is well. Had a good New Year and kind of low key on this end, but well, today's January 3rd, so this is my third day in the shop so far this year.
Excellent, excellent. Everybody weighing in. Justin's out there. Happy New Year. We got everybody saying Happy New Year. Julie saying Happy New Year. Everybody is excited about 2023. This guy says that you're slimmed down. Yeah, I could definitely tell slimmed down. Alan Reinhart is. That's good stuff. How did the Scotch tasting go? I sent something. I don't think it made it for Christmas, but it's a restock for next year.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And please don't send me any more until I thin the herd a little bit. I've been my stock is to the point that I'm either going to have to build a bigger shelf or we're going to have to get more people to come by. Christmas Day was it was okay. The turnout was moderate, not spectacular, but it was a nice day. As always, good conversation and people stop by. Sometimes people stop by I only see once or twice a year. So again, just a nice low key, very, very. But my Christmas tradition carried on.
Exactly. Scott out there saying last year was one of the best years ever of NHRA. 2023 will be epic. I agree. I'm super excited. And I've had people in the industry tell me that they have never been more excited looking forward to a season. Now, it's easy to say that. You get caught up in the emotion of the new year. But given what we witnessed in 2022, and we certainly spent a lot of time, breaking it down and thinking about it, looking ahead, wow, we have got something big that is about to happen here in NHRA 2023.
I think so. And, everybody, as you mentioned, a lot of them taking a little bit of time off this time of year, and then everybody will be right back at it. Of course, some extra time to get ready on the winter break before we fire things off in Gainesville. But there's still some announcements coming. There's some stories coming down. There's some good things happening, not just on the Camping World side, but I'm expecting to hear something either later on today or tomorrow on the sportsman side. It's going to be good news, especially for the competition eliminator guys, and just a lot of news. And there's a lot to be excited about right now. The only thing that's not to be excited about is we've got to wait until March.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting till February. I'll be doing the divisional race in Orlando the last I checked. But yes, March. It's a little different. It's going to be a more compressed season, but it's going to be better because we're not going to do like a race and then off for 3 weeks and then another race and off for 2 weeks and then get going. We're going to start and we're going to be going. And I think that is going to be advantageous as much as we do have to wait an extra month and a half.
Yeah, once we get going, it'll be good. But we need to get going, and I'm expecting at least to do the regional event at Firebird, which will be in February also. But that's still too long before we get to see the top fuel cars and the pro stock machines.
Yes. All right. So before we get to talk about the CUDA, this guy wants to know if you've driven the CUDA. All right. Have you driven the CUDA yet? Have you driven it around?
I have not. I got the water pump housing for it actually came in yesterday. And so now I can put that together, and then I should be able to drive it. But I had, a couple of friends that I know I've got one of those. I've got an old 440 laying out back someplace, and but nobody could come up with one, so I finally just bought one. So no, I have not driven it yet.
Okay, no, I got you. All right, so there's lots to talk about. Some of it not drag racing though, and we'll start off with the passing of Ken Block because he is motorsports. What happened in the NFL last night, I think, is something that has taken the world by storm, but not motorsports people, right? And we're going to talk about that because we've gone through that experience too many times to list. But watching the rest of the NFL journalist community deal with it was very interesting. It was an interesting experience. But I want to mention Ken Block. This guy's an icon. He's been out to one of our races. I think it was last year, Charlotte won, perhaps 4 wide. I don't know. I remember interviewing him on the starting line. He was hanging out with Leah. An icon. The Gymkhana videos, this guy started DC Shoes, and he really kind of melded the worlds through his participation of what are called action sports, skateboarding and BMX and vert and all that stuff with motorsports through his passion for rally. And now you got Haley Deegan and you got all this different cross-pollination between, Tony Hawk style action sports and motorsports. And I really give credit to Ken Block for all of that. He died in a snowmobiling accident. The details people can look up, but just a total tragedy to someone who was an innovator and an icon and, clearly had no fear whether it would be on the track or in the boardroom.
Yeah, he was an incredible talent, no matter what he was doing, whether it was snowboarding, skateboarding, or doing the rally stuff. And, his videos are just unbelievable. You watch some of those things, the one where he took the Fiesta around, starts with him going in front of the train and then through the warehouse and then out by the water. And you watch that thing, and it's like you couldn't do that on a computer. And he was doing it live and in person, and it's just a shame. I met him SEMA show however many years ago. Weren't close friends by any means, but had an opportunity to talk to the guy for a couple of minutes and just kind of get a sense of, the guy that just really enjoyed life. His wife, his 3 kids, and everything he did was enjoying life. And he was apparently doing that when he passed as well, on vacation with his family. So it's just a shame. Again, an incredible talent, and gone in an instant.
Yeah, it's. You read the stories, folks. Go and check out some of the quotes. Travis Pastrana with a couple of great quotes. Of course, Travis drove a top fueler very recently and coming to the world of, nitro, right? It was Alex Laughlin who said, Travis, you can't have a nitro thing without knowing what nitro is all about, and just how all the worlds of extreme, realizing that motorsport is the ultimate extreme. Just a horrible tragedy, and, may he rest in peace. That interview we did on the starting line years ago, I never saw it make social, but he was loving it, right? It was like, hey, you want to get in one of these things, right? And he's like, I don't know, but just sad. What do I take away from this? You got to appreciate every second. I know we say it every time something tragic happens, but you just never know, whether it be just yourself or you and your family and your friends. You got to make the most of every positive second because you don't know when it's going to end.
I agree. And as I said, when my impression of Ken when I met him and from everything that I've seen about him online is that he was a guy that just enjoyed basically every moment. What can we do to have fun, to be exciting, to entertain? And it's just, and the fact that, again, he died apparently enjoying moments, being on vacation, spending time with your family, it's awful that it happened. And I think the world is going to miss him tremendously. Yeah.
It might have been Ken chasing the F1 car when you were in Vegas, Joe. Who knows? It's just a major bummer. And it was like we were hit with a negativity bomb last night at like 9 p.m. Eastern, whenever it was, because the Damar Hamlin incident, I wasn't watching the game initially. I got some text. Giovanni in Miami's like, hey, put on the game. Something really bad has happened. We're watching the NFL deal with a very serious situation, and they weren't sure exactly what it was. And then the Ken Block news came out right on top of that, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, all this just crazy negativity happening. I saw your tweet. It appeared to me that you were watching live based on the tweet. Were you?
Yeah. I was watching the game, and it's interesting because I mean, obviously the good news is that, you know, even though he's in critical condition, he's in the hospital, and apparently his vitals are good, and so that's certainly better than what I was fearing at the time. But I thought it was a classic situation, kind of like Darrell Russell's incident, like Dale Earnhardt's incident, where when you watched it happen, you're thinking, we've seen worse than that 1,000 times. I mean, why was this? But, you know, when they talked about, you know, performing CPR on the field, you knew that it was just a much bigger disaster than, you know, just a concussion or just a wind knocked out or just, you know, the normal things that happen to NFL players on a regular basis. I will say, as far as the crisis coverage, you know, there were some that did well and some that didn't. I thought Lisa Salter did an amazing job. I don't know if she's had any kind of crisis coverage, been through some of that before, but, you know, sticking with, this is what we know. These are the facts. We are not speculating. I'm telling you the information that is available right now, and that's how you have to approach something like that. And I thought that, you know, I thought what she did was incredible. Not necessarily that everybody did, but as you said, you know, we've been through that before, and, you know, you watch over and over and over, right, week after week and game after game, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And okay, you know, a guy gets a concussion now and then. Okay, a guy gets the wind knocked out of him. Okay, a guy gets a hyperextended this or that. Okay, but CPR on the field, like, are you kidding me? And I think it's just a reminder, you know, as much as we all want to pretend, when you put a helmet on, you are acknowledging that you're doing something that could be dangerous. And as far as exactly, you know, what happened to Damar, what exactly that, no idea, not going to speculate, don't care. But to see a young man as healthy as he is, and to go through that, just kind of reiterates that, you know, what these guys are doing can be dangerous.
Yeah, well, and being involved in racing, I remember when I got my start at Sports Radio 560 QAM in Miami, many of the, let's call them stick and ball guys. And, you know, Marino owned a NASCAR team. And so he was very close to the station, and, you know, he's part owner on a NASCAR team, but he was into the NASCAR. And I got a lot of questions from former NFL players about this moment. Like, hey, why are you into something where people, you know, can die? And it's like, oh, we don't want that. That's not what we want. That's not ever the plan. You do everything you can do to make sure that never happens, but you don't know what lies ahead. And so you plan as best as you can, but sometimes something happens. And this was like their moment right there. I saw it referred to as commotio cordis, basically a big impact to the chest, confuses the heart. They had to bring him back, but it looks like they brought him back. We don't know what his status is going to be. Of course, this is not an official medical report. People can go to that. But the NFL, the impacts are tremendous. They're not going 150 miles an hour, but the impacts are tremendous. And to see the way that the entire community and really the whole United States kind of stopped, like every channel that I typically flip around, news channels, local channels, the cable news channels, they all stopped what they were doing and they covered this topic. That doesn't happen very often.
No, and I think, you know, as you pointed, it shows just how big this was. I believe the last time that somebody was fatally injured in a football game was over 50 years ago. And they certainly have made it safer, and, you know, the equipment's better, but the guys are also bigger, the guys are stronger, the guys are hitting each other harder. But I still go back to, you know, watching the play happen and then watching the replay. And we've seen way worse than that every play of the game. You know, what made this one turn into something that is that critical? And I don't know the answer to that. Again, I'm not speculating, but I think, you know, you just have to understand that, People are putting on helmets and putting on shoulder pads because they understand they're playing a dangerous game. And I just, have my fingers crossed and hope that, DeMar gets through this and that he's okay going forward. Whether he wants to go back and play football again or not, I could care less. I just hope that he's okay going forward. I did think, from the community standpoint, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but he had a charity, like a toy drive thing, and they had a GoFundMe or whatever the deal was, with a goal of $25,000 to buy things for underprivileged children. Last night it went over $3 million.
Wow.
And I think, that's just everybody that wanted to show some support somehow, and they realized, hey, this is a way I can do it. Whether it's $10 or whether it's $100 or whatever, but this is a way I can show support because, even with all the social media in the world and as connected as everybody is, how do you, Joe Castello, show him, I'm with you, I'm supporting you? And that's the way I think people thought, this is a way I can show him that I'm pulling for him, I'm with him, and, not only am I praying for him, but I'm also, showing some physical or some tangible support. And I thought that was just tremendous.
No, there's good in people. There's good in people. Like, so much time is spent. I watch the news with a different kind of eye than maybe the casual person, but there's so much time spent, not just news coverage, but by regular people, like complaining about negative stuff. But there's so much good out there also in these critical times, people stepping up, doing the right thing, maybe hiding the good that they do. Because there's a saying, like, if you do good and then crow about it, you're not really doing good. You're patting your own ego, right? And so, like, people who are doing a lot of good stuff are keeping it a secret on purpose, but all the negative stuff gets all the attention in the world. And so the average person kind of thinks like, oh man, there's only bad in the world. People are only negative in the world. And that is just not true. And that is a great example. Someone asked, wasn't there a defibrillator in the stadium? And the answer was, I heard that they used it. Michael Heiner is on there and says, yes, they used it after CPR to get his heart into rhythm. So we're not breaking news here. We're not NFL news. We're not news of a couple of guys kicking around a story around the water cooler that we know about. But just so happy that it looks like they dodged what really was a terrible situation. And everybody kind of experienced that one together, right? That was like a big Monday Night Football game everybody was up on. If you didn't start out watching the game, you definitely flipped it on for a few moments.
Well, I'm glad that NFL finally made the right choice. When they said on the broadcast, the players had been given 5 minutes to warm up and resume the game, I'm thinking to myself, what? I mean, you seriously are going to tell these guys who are as emotional as they've ever been, okay, put that behind you and go back to work? And, when the two coaches got together and both, I think, decided, and it's pure speculation on my part, but I think when the coaches got together and both said, I ain't playing, and the other one said, I ain't playing either, let's take our players and let's go away, then that kind of forced the NFL to make the right decision. But it took them a while to do it, but at least they did make the right decision.
Right. They made the right decision. And as I understood it, just again, based on the news coverage that I've seen, this is the first time that they've postponed a game like that based on an injury. And they gave other examples. You referenced that 50 years ago, I think it was 1969. Again, conjecture. I heard it earlier today. I did not write it down. But they continued the game. In all of these situations, they continue the game. It's get back out there on the field. And it was so clear you cannot continue that game. Everybody just watched a friend, teammate, competitor have a problem. They watch him resuscitated. Nobody is ready to get out there on the cutting edge. There's an anger. There is an edge that you must have in those sports. Whereas in motorsports, you're often trying to minimize your intensity and your emotion. In those sports, you're trying to bring them up. And that's where you have more injuries, right? And so I think they absolutely did the right thing by postponing it. We will figure it out at another time.
Yeah, the world has changed. What they used to do way back when, you look at racers that were racing with, obvious concussions, racers that were racing with casts, because rules say if I don't race, I don't, and the world has just changed. We've gotten smarter and we've reacted a little bit more compassionately than we used to. And I think that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. Well, but see, there are a lot of people that would fight you about the sissification of the game. And it was better when men were men and they would get out there and you know what, they got a little headache, big deal. So what, it's a concussion, get out there and race, tape your eyes open. Ricky Rudd, we all know about how, tough of a person he was, except now in 2023, it's not that we're weaker or dumber. It's that we have realized that this is a bad thing to put people in that situation. And I think it's an improvement. I think it's an evolution. But there are so many that they don't get that just yet.
Yeah. I think we're smarter, and I think that's it. I don't think it's the time people realized, or anybody realized, even the medical community realized, how much damage you were doing, right? You got a headache, get in the car. Okay. But I don't think people realized back then that you were compounding damage. And so I think now everybody realizes that instead of, being hurt a little and then a little more and then a little more and then a little more, be hurt a little, take some time and heal, and then come back and start over again. And I think, I think we're smarter, and I think we're better off for it. They also, everybody that says men were tougher back then, have them go look inside a 1970 era stock car and tell me if you would drive that today. Knowing what knowing what's available out there for safety equipment, knowing things that can be done that will make the car better. Go tell me if you'd actually drive that. When I walk through the NHRA Motorsports Museum, I literally look back at some of that stuff and go, oh my God, somebody went 200 miles an hour on that thing? I'm not sure I'd drive it across the parking lot. But they didn't know any better, so they did. Now we know better. That's why we do smarter things. Yeah,
well, exactly. And whatever we know right now, 10 years from now, we'll know more. 10 days from now, we'll know more. And that's the process. That's the process that we all go and enjoy. Starting off the 2023 with some negative news. We'll keep going through it, though. The passing of Jerry Ekman, right? That was one that caught us between the last time we have spoken and was surprising to me. Bobby Bennett years ago. Bobby Bennett has always been very helpful to WFO Radio behind the scenes. And he asked me to do this interview with Jerry when Jerry got reinstated. And all of a sudden, people are like hitting me with the video, like, hey, the interview. Oh, my gosh, Jerry. And what an honor it was to be able to do that in that moment with Jerry. And we lost him. He has passed away, and it happened during the holidays, and just a sad deal for a U.S. Nationals winner, a pro stock icon. I felt like he got a raw deal, like I said in the interview. But we've learned, like you say, we know more now. And what can you say about a guy like Jerry Ekman?
Yeah, he definitely, got a lot out of the life that he had. If I'm not mistaken, he was a Vietnam veteran. I know he was a veteran, but if I'm not mistaken, he was involved in Vietnam and then came home and got involved in racing. And, he had Bill Orndorff and their years. And yes, there was some controversy in there and some other stuff. But, he was a good guy. He was a fun guy to sit in a bar and have a beer with and trade stories with. And he was as fierce a competitor as there ever was when he put the helmet on and got behind the wheel. Yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace, Jerry. All right. Now we can move forward and talk about some interesting things that have happened during the break. Like Stevie Fast was in the news. He had some surgery because he's been nursing some injuries. And just a perfect example, right? Like he's tough. He's a tough person. You love what you do. That's another thing. It's not just being tough. Like being tough is maybe going and doing something you hate doing because you got to do it. He wants to be out there. He doesn't want to be sidelined. But in the end, he had some pain that was coming up on him and some things locking up on him. He had to go get surgery. He did. But then days later, some really good news, partnering with Sidney Frigo. That's kind of interesting for the future. So Stevie Fast stealing some headlines here in the winter break. Yeah, that's very interesting. Sidney obviously is as competitive as anybody out there, and it's like anything else, right? It doesn't matter what class you run. Information is your friend. And so if you've got somebody you can work with, and, Sidney was certainly plenty fast, and I think Stevie's going to make him even faster. But I also think that the information coming and everything that they're going to get from Sidney is going to be helpful for Steve as well. So I think it's a good deal for both of them. I don't know if he's still going to have any affiliation with the Why Not folks or not. I don't know if the Whiteleys are going to come back and run Pro Mod or not. So there's that. But I think it's definitely a good move for both Sidney and for Steve. Yeah. The Titan, there's so many moving parts, and to get together with these folks and kind of figure out how everything works is going to be interesting. But
Jim Whiteley is part of the Titan deal, the Titan and KB deal. That's a huge undertaking. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. I wonder how that all works out. But I know that Sidney Frigo has got a great, drag racing community down there in Brazil, and he owns a track, and they like drag racing. Of course, they're known for Formula One, of course, because of Ayrton Senna. But to have a CV Fast be connected to that in a way, I don't know. I think that only means good things for drag racing popularity in Brazil.
I agree. And sticking with the Pro Mod theme, and I probably shouldn't mention who because it hasn't been, but, annually I speak with Warren Johnson on Christmas Day. It is a tradition that goes back to when I was working with David, and that's 20 whatever years ago it was. That on Christmas Day, I always call Warren and we spend a little time on the phone and catch up. And I said, "You working on anything fun?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing some valve train R&D for a Pro Mod guy." And I said, "I'm sorry, what?" And he said, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Been working with this." And again, I'm not going to divulge who, but it is a pro modified person that you would certainly recognize the name, that understands that this is potentially a weak link, or this is potentially a spot where we can find some more performance, and got in touch with Warren. And he said they've been tearing up the Spintron, working on valve train stability that is going to be technology that's going into at least a Pro Mod car or two. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. Guys are moving forward. The status quo is a beautiful thing if you want to run with the field. But if you want to run in front of the field, you better figure out a way to get out there. And if you want to talk about somebody that understands the mechanics of how things work inside a race engine, Warren Johnson's a pretty sharp guy.
Yes, everything Warren Johnson, very sharp guy. And for those out there, if you go to the Hidden Horsepower podcast feed, we've got an hour with WJ from last year's Engine Performance Expo. Many, many topics, hot topics, all kinds of different stuff, talking about things that he did that they said, "Nah, you can't do that." That was some of the most interesting stuff. He says he solved the problems. Lauren is out there with a question. What do you think of Chase Van Sant going to Jerry Savoy's Pro Stock Motorcycle team this year in 2023, Alan?
I'm really excited for Chase. I don't know, Joe, if you know him or not, but what a good kid. And his father has been in the performance business as a manufacturer, as a guy for a number of years, and certainly has the connections. And Chase has spent time on the road working on the bikes, getting comfortable with the bikes, understanding the mechanics of the bikes. And I personally feel that makes you better. I think if you look at the people that have been very successful over the years in the pro stock motorcycle category particularly, it's all guys that understood the mechanics, right? Whether you're talking about Dave Schultz, whether you're talking about Drew, whether you're talking about Matt Hines, whether you're talking about Matt Smith, guys that win a lot understand the mechanics of the bike. And I think Chase is, I don't know, I will not be surprised if he goes out there and makes an impact immediately. And, obviously he's going to be running for Rookie of the Year. I don't know who else is going to be out there, but I think that he's going to make an impact immediately. A young guy that's that enthusiastic, that has been around it, even though he hasn't ridden pro stock motorcycles particularly a whole lot. But I do believe that he's going to make an impact pretty quickly. He's got a great program, a lot of power, and everybody in the pits knows that Tim Kalungian is one of the smartest guys out there.
No, he really is. And that team spoke with Jerry, and Jerry's part-time this year. We don't know officially until, you know how it is, Alan.
Yeah, he's part-time until he wins Gainesville, and it's okay, that's it.
But his reasoning was sound in that he's the travel and the airports and all of the stuff. If you could just beam your way there, it would be easier. But we'll see what happens. But it's great to see that Jerry has plans for White Alligator Racing to go on beyond his being the rider. And that I think is so important for drag racers. I reference it all the time. If Richard Childress and Rick Hendrick both decided that the only way they could have fun was by being the driver, NASCAR would probably not have gotten to the levels that it did. And that we need to make sure that our drag racers realize that there's something worthwhile in being the team owner. If you can afford it, and that's your deal, to help the whole thing go forward and have others pursue their dreams. And I think that Jerry recognizes that.
I think so, and he just has such a passion for the motorcycles. I think that he wants to stay involved, even if it's not as a rider, and having the opportunity to let Chase come out here and take a crack at his dream. Right? I mean, this is something that the young man has wanted to do for a lot of years, even though he's not very old. But he's going to have an opportunity to do that, and he's going to have a pretty good mentor out there. And again, getting on A+ equipment right out of the gate.
All right, since we're talking pro stock motorcycles, the questions chat section is full of questions about Vance and Hines. When are they announcing their rider? And
it's me.
It's Alan Reinhart.
Right? Why do you think I'm losing weight?
Yeah, exactly.
It's me.
It's Alan Reinhart. It's always Alan Reinhart. And do you think Angel will get another ride? We played it.
I'm also going to fill in for Stevie Fast.
All of these things.
Everything. It's me.
Reinhart is the answer to every question, guys. Alan Reinhart is the answer. When you watch Jeopardy, just who is Alan Reinhart is the answer to every single one of them. But I don't know the answer. I know that it's now the new year, and so we're going to have a bunch of announcements coming from, as you mentioned, NHRA and the teams. And some teams don't make announcements, right? Like the John Force people have already told us they don't even make announcements about crew chiefs. You'll see who shows up at the next test, and that'll be the answer to your question. But maybe you have an idea of when, and maybe if Drew is out there, you want to text me when you're doing the announcement, Drew. I'll put it on the air.
Yeah, I really haven't heard anything out of that camp. I know that they were looking at a lot of different possibilities, and we'll just have to see where they end up. Whether it ends up, maybe bringing in somebody else that's already out there riding and making him a part of the team, or whether they take like the Jerry route, right, and go find the next young person, the next Chase, and say, okay, come in here. We're going to teach you. We're going to show you our way of doing things, and we're going to try to make you a champion. But I'm not worried about Vance and Hines at all. Those guys have been around this long enough. They know what needs to be done. They know what timetable they've got. They know it's going to happen. I'm not worried about them at all.
Excellent. Bill's out there. I believe some events only had 3 qualifying sessions last year. Will all events have 4 sessions in 2023? I don't know the answer to this question. I don't think it's all for anything, right? Like it's not a uniform 4 for all of them. But my opinion is, and see if you back this up, that there will be 4 sessions at more events in 2023 than there were in 2022.
I believe that to be the case too, and I haven't seen any kind of an official announcement, but I know, some of the reasons for doing that in the first place made a lot of sense at the time. Maybe don't necessarily need to be enforced, at least not as vigilantly now. I know most of the teams wanted to get the extra run back, because when your first run is your Friday afternoon or Friday evening, you've got to come up there a little bit on the blind side. If you've got that checkout run Friday afternoon before you come up there and take the home run swing, I mean, just think poor David Grubnick. Think of all of those Friday nights that he had to go up there without having a warm-up run, and he just barely muddled through. So I think what you said. I don't believe it's going to be at all the events, but I do believe more of the events will have 4. And I would expect at some point in the not too distant future for NHRA to make that clear.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, exactly. You do not dump news between Christmas and New Year's. This is January 3rd, and we're, just kind of staggering out of the post-holiday malaise. Jim wants to know, did Clay lose Jimmo to Rapistarta permanently or just till Gainesville? Jimmo is down under, hanging out with friends. He's definitely doing some tune stuff, but Clay has not lost anything. In fact, they're very excited for the off season. I spoke extensively with Jimmo during the industry week, the ePart Trade Industry Week, and we did a crew chiefs, drivers, Australia kind of back and forth, and he's just excited to go down there.
Well, he and the Rapisartas have been friends for years. I mean, it goes all the way back to his association with the Colettas. So, there's nothing nefarious going on there. I mean, the guy's off for a couple of months, and he's got an opportunity to go someplace and burn some nitro and help some of his friends. And instead of spending winter in the States, he gets to spend summer in Australia, and that's not a bad deal either.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the Rapisartas. I think it's the other Australian super team. But we'll get into But that was what Jim said, right? But we'll get into that. Other people saying Happy New Year. Are they reducing sportsman fields to game time for more pro sessions? That was an interesting deal. The Gator Nationals stock and super stock fields opened up, I think it was last week, and they were full in, I heard it was like 10 minutes, some very ridiculously short amount of time. And they showed some quotas, and the quotas were at, 50. And I think it was Brett Kepner was on one of the Facebook posts. It's like, I'm surprised people don't understand why they're lowering the quotas. And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know the answer why they're lowering the quotas. Are they lowering the quotas at all either? That's kind of an area of sportsman racing that I am a little blissfully ignorant about getting in and all of that. What do you know about that, Alan? As in the Gator National stock, super stock field is already locked out for the Gator Nationals.
Well, I think one of the reasons is because they're going to run Super Street there, which is not the norm. Super Street, of course, runs a national event one time in every division. It had historically been in Atlanta. And we don't have that anymore, so Super Street is going to be going down there, and whatever number of cars that is, I assume it's 40 or 50, that has to come from someplace. I think that I wish they would implement something, because they are going to have 128 car fields at the Baby Gators. They're going to run class eliminations at the Baby Gators, so you still are going to be able to be a Gator Nationals class champion, even if you don't get into the Gators. But I would very much like to see an opportunity for somebody to win their way in. If you go to the Baby Gators and you outlast 128 cars, even if you don't have, the grades, or you didn't get in, or you didn't, I would like to see a way. I think that would be a great incentive to hey, look, I understand the Gators are full, but because 50 cars, okay. As long as we don't go over 64, you're not talking about an extra round, okay? As long as you've got a place to park an extra 4 or 5 cars or 6 cars or whatever. You're not talking about a lot of extra time in the weekend. You're not talking about an extra round of competition. But give your racers an opportunity to race their way into the Gators. I think that would be a tremendous program, and I'm throwing that up there for a vote.
I agree. No, I agree. It's just
okay. Well, it's unanimous then.
Aye. There's a lot of voting going on right now. I say aye. Well, the hometown hero aspect of it too.
Sure.
First of all, let me back up. Super Street at the Gator Nationals. Yes, super excited about this. And that Super Street it's the only category that my family car of the NHRA drag racing that it might fit in, right? And that has always been my goal. There's been a lot of things holding me back. But one of them is now the idea of me running the Gator Nationals is actually a possibility, whereas previously it wasn't. They didn't run Super Street there. So that is super exciting.
Did you get in?
Well, I don't have a car yet. It's more of a 2024 plan, Alan. Or it's really a 2025 plan, Alan. 2025, Castello.
How long does it take to build an engine? You've had that thing apart for like 9 years.
Yeah, no one has touched it. It's I got a plan working. Don't worry. But it's like a glacier.
Put it in a box and send it to Jason Lyon. That would be a plan working.
I got a guy already.
Okay.
And I don't want to tell anyone. I want to do a big story about this. I want everybody to feel invested, but he's got something to do with this. So yeah, exactly. It's going to Kansas. But also Jim Reed Racing. It wasn't Rapisarda. A lot of
there
people
you go.
Yeah. Rapisarda is the only Australian team. Is Jim Reed. And we spoke with Phil, with Jim O and those guys. It was a good time on the EPAR Trade Industry Week. Lowering the quotas to force participants to attend points races. Do you think it's that to force them? Because a lot of these people are max points already. You got enough people with max points.
No, I mean, it's a time and space issue. That's what it always is a time and space issue. How much room do we have? And how much time do we have? And I think in a lot of situations, a lot of the racetracks, the room issue is bigger than the time issue. Okay, I mean, if you've got 100 guys that have a pickup and an 18-foot open trailer, or even an 18 or 20-foot enclosed trailer, you can pack a lot of those in. When you've got a guy that's got an 85-foot toter and stacker and slide outs and awnings, and it takes a lot of space, and you can't put nearly as many of those rigs in the same footprint. And so that becomes an issue at some of them. And the other one, obviously, is time. You've got to have the time to run the cars, to run the time trial runs, to get in the stuff. And those two things are what dictate what the quotas are.
Got it. Well, and there's only so many hours in the day that we can be running. It's just
that's the time half of it.
That's the time half of it. Bob Bender. Bob, who's this for? Is this for Alan and for me? When are you driving the big girl? You know, the wagon. He's offering the big girl to somebody, and I just want to know, is it Alan? Is it me? I'll go off the bottom and stock eliminator. That would be awesome. I'm very capable of doing that. That's the issue.
I'll do it.
No space.
I'll do it if we can do it like in Division 1, because there's no chance that Leo Glassbrand will be there. I am not going anywhere where that guy's within 100 miles of the racetrack.
You have PTSD from that run.
I do. And yeah,
he says
crushed me.
We're both invited to drive the big girl. If you want to see the big girl, go to Attention in the Pits on NHRA's YouTube channel and find the big giant white station wagon, which is great stuff. You know, I like the long roof cars. All right, let's this has been kind of a fun conversation. Talked a little pro stock motorcycle, but not in the nitro ranks. What are they doing right now, Alan? What's going on? I know Dean Antonelli is in Italy. That's all I know, because his Facebook posts have been amazing. But other than that, what are teams doing right now to get ready? I would imagine there's probably a test session not far off, private tests somewhere for some of the teams. What do you think is happening?
Well, yeah, there's going to be a couple of them. I've spoken to a couple of the teams that are coming out west. I've spoken to a couple of them that are going to go down to Florida. I'm not sure that there's necessarily a consensus where, hey, we're all going to be here on the 12th, 13th, and 14th kind of thing. But there's definitely going to be some testing going on. Early February is kind of what I'm hearing. And for right now, everybody just kind of like restocking and retooling. And, if you need to do something with the car, now's the time to do that. If you're doing a front half, a back half, you're getting a new car built, time to go through your inventory. There's just so much stuff that needs to get done because, as you said, once we get started, we're going to get after it pretty quick, right? We're going to go to Florida. And then we're going to come out for what do you call it, the spring swing, when everybody comes west. And that's going to be almost a Western swing type of mentality. You're going to have the truck loaded up to go out for 3 races without coming home. And so stuff like that is what's taking place right now. I think Tim Wilkerson always talks about, we always come home after the finals. We back the truck in the shop and just dump everything out of it. And we put all our junk in a pile, and then we go through that pile and figure out what junk is good that needs to go back in the truck, and what junk we should have thrown away, in Seattle when we were there, but just been hauling around in the truck ever since. And then you restock and you get ready to go for the new year.
Yes, well, exactly. People are talking about Nitro Joe Morrison with the big funny car announcement. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Changing it. I'm a big fan of Joe because I've watched the arc from years ago. He has been maybe 15 years ago, long. Joe has been telling me, this is what my plan is, and don't say anything, but this is my arc. And this guy is doing it. Everything he said he was going to do. And Alan, a lot of people say a lot of things, and I'm not faulting them for not accomplishing it. But it doesn't always happen. Right. In this case, this guy is getting it done. And I'm pretty excited about Joe Morrison. Whatever ends up happening, how often he runs, but the guy is going to be in a flopper.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because, he's a good guy and he's a regular guy. And I think a lot of people can identify with the fact, he doesn't come from huge family money. He doesn't have a legacy name that got him in. It's just a matter of meeting people, shaking hands, making contacts, doing what you say you're going to do, delivering on your promises, and getting opportunities. And along the way, he's had some opportunities to do a lot of things. But as you said, he had a long-term plan, and he worked on it. And he knew that, this isn't all going to happen by next Tuesday. It's going to take some time, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to deliver on my promises. And I'm not going to promise something that I can't deliver. And I'm going to show people that I'm serious. And sooner or later, these opportunities are going to present themselves. And now they are. So, no, I'm excited to see him in funny car as well.
Corey Savoy out there saying, hi, what's up, Corey? Sorry about Verlander, bud. The Mets, that big money, the pull of New York. Sorry about Verlander. Let's see. Nicole, Joe is one of the hardest working guys out there following his dream. Joe repping New Jersey. He has my support. Oh, my gosh. Amazing stuff. Lauren wants to know about the leverage racing top fuel dragster. That's the thing, Alan. There are cars out there and there are seats available. And that's exactly how it's supposed to work. You've got these premier cars that are competing for the world championship and going to if not all the races, most of the races. And then you've got some regional cars that you can get in and prove you're competent and go out there and build it. That's what Joe did. And that is an option that is open to others, but you got to find money, you got to bring money, and you got to have the want to and the work hard about it.
Yeah, I'm going to drive that one too.
Lauren, the answer to all questions is Alan Reinhart. Remember that one. The answer is Alan Reinhart. You're on a bike, you're in the leverage car. I get it.
Hey, Antron did it. How tough can it be?
Right. Exactly. Ooh, David Eaton says Jegs All-Stars at Indy was perfect. Dallas is a mistake. David Eaton, the guy did real well in Comp Eliminator last year. I don't know that I agree, Dave, but let's hear what Alan thinks. What do you think about the Jegs All-Stars as part of the Stampede of Speed?
Well, I'm glad that they moved it out of Indy, and simply for the reason that it just got lost in the shuffle. The Jegs All-Stars has always been an opportunity for the sportsman to be in the spotlight. And going all the way back when we did it in Columbus, when we did it in Chicago, it was the only specialty event that took place during whatever weekend we were, so they had the spotlight. But when you go to Indy, and you've got Class of Limbs, and you've got the Hemi Shootout, and you got the Pep Boys Call Out, and you got on and on, and the Jegs All-Stars just becomes one more thing. I think that it needed to get out of Indy. Whether or not Dallas is the correct place for it, I guess, time will tell. I've heard some people say that they thought it was a good move. I've heard some people say that they didn't think it was a great move. I believe, give it a shot. Let's see it one time. You can't tell me you hate something if you haven't tried it yet. And so let's go down there and give it a shot. Hopefully, the guys behind the Motorplex will get behind it, do something extra special with it. And I'd love to see that. I don't know if there's a way that they could potentially be promoted through or worked into or have something extra with a Stampede of Speed like they do with some of the pro teams out there. I don't know that, but I'd like to wait and see. Before I either, give it 2 thumbs up or 2 thumbs down, I'm going to wait and see how it works out one time. I would love if the Motorplex can do something with it. They've got a week of events out there. If they could do something extra special for the All-Stars, then I think that would be a beautiful thing.
So as the voice of the Stampede of Speed, and as far as I know, I've been retained for next year as well. I've been asked to get there even earlier. So I will be in Dallas 10 days. And I am also announcing that the WFO Patreon meetup will be happening at the Stampede of Speed this year as well. So everybody book your tickets and be ready to go there. That they are taking the attitude of everything that they do, making it as big a deal as is possible. So you kind of apply that math to the Jegs All-Stars, and I think they're going to be, I think it's going to be bigger than it's ever been. The Indy Jegs All-Stars deal, you're so right. It's just too many things, man. It's too many things. Jason Galvin and I are on the mic. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's the only time to run the deal. The Harleys have knocked down 50 blocks. We're running finals of the All-Stars. It's just people are complaining. Well, this is disrespectful to the, well, when are we supposed to run them? 7 a.m? Like, there is the reality of the clock. This, I think, gives them all kinds of flexibility to create, to come up with things around it. I want to see it, and I want to see how the folks at the Motorplex and the Stampede of Speed handle it. To me, it's definitely worth a shot. Let's give them a chance before we complain about anything.
I agree, and I would love to see them, find a spot in the pits to put the All-Stars together. I don't know if there's some kind of, some kind of entryway, some kind of something, some kind of signage, but let's give them an opportunity. I know, when Christy Meyer and Johnson and her team get together and decide we want to do something special, they do something special. So let's give them an opportunity to see what they make out of this.
Absolutely. I see we got quite a few people on there. Mikey is asking about Stevie Fast. Already discussed it at the beginning, Mikey. You can definitely check out the podcast. And this is a great moment for me to promote like all the WFO feeds. Subscribe. You're right in the middle of the show. Bang. Subscribe, especially WFO Radio TV on YouTube. A great place to check out the show. Subscribe, click the bell, all of that stuff. What about if you're Brittany Force? What are you doing with that team? Is Grubnick like, okay, we've figured it out, we're the champs, refine, or is he, let's experiment with a new crazy thing? Like, what do you think is going on over there?
I think that David Grubnick is going to be tweaking what he has. I don't think that he's going to make a big swing one way or another. I think you look at the performance of the car, you look at the consistency of the car, there's no need for them to make big changes. If I'm David, and something I'm sure that he's focusing on, how many times was he standing on the starting line going, it wasn't supposed to do that? And I think that that's the area that he's working on, is to make sure that the car gets even more predictable than it already was, and to make sure that it always comes back with all the pieces still bolted on it, because he is from the mold. If he sets the world record, wins the championship, and it coughs a blower in a shutdown area, he's not happy, because his car is supposed to come back perfectly in one piece every time. And I believe those would be the things that he's going to be concentrating on. I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of big changes over there as far as personnel, as far as anything else. I think that those guys are going to just kind of wash, rinse, repeat, and just make some very, very subtle little changes.
All right. Anything else new with the CUDA before we part ways? Like, we got a whole year to talk NHRA drag racing, guys. If we didn't cover your topic, we'll get to it next week. This is a residual show, like 1 week, next week. But subscribe, click the bell, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, download our free mobile application. You'll never miss a show. But everybody wants to know about the CUDA, so go.
No, nothing new. I said the water pump housing got here yesterday, so I'm going to get that put on it. Once it'll hold water and circulate water, then I'm going to be able to drive the thing. And I've pretty much decided that before it comes apart and goes through whatever the next thing is, it's going to take a trip out to the drag strip. I'm gonna have to take the thing out to Tucson Dragway, make a couple hits with it before I take it apart, and then start on whatever I'm going to do with it. So that's the short term. Get it to where it'll run and drive, and I can take it out to the drag strip and then take it out there and make a couple of hits.
I love that. That is a great idea. As much as you guys are busting my chops about Project Super Street with the 78 Trans Am, this is on the top of my radar. I'm definitely working on this project as we speak. And I did a lot of snow. It has been percolating under the surface quietly in top secret mode. But the joke.
Now, wait a minute. It's at the top of the list, or it's percolating under the surface? Because those are two different things, Joe.
One is public and one is private. It's true. Like, privately inside my own mind, top of the list. Publicly, definitely behind the scenes, right? I got to work, I got to do the show, all that. But I have been doing stuff, and things are happening. The gears are turning. But Castello Racing, we had a great addition. You ever start a project, Alan, like 5 years ago and then finally finish it? I had one of those this past weekend. My dad had a construction company years ago. We went to clear out a warehouse, and in the back there was a golf cart. And I always love golf carts. I love golf carts. When you and I get to have a golf cart, I really like that too sometimes. But anyway, the golf cart had no headlights or taillights, so it made it a bad pit golf cart, because at night, you got no lights. So I bought these lights. I was going to install the lights on the golf cart, but it just got stalled down. Well, on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, I decided I'm going to install these lights. And I did. The box still had the receipt in there. 2017, I bought the stupid lights for the golf cart. Installed them 2022, baby. 5 years, project completed. How about that for procrastination?
When was its last oil change?
You know what? It's got like 2 hours between that. Probably when before the lights, I did all that oil stuff. I changed the filter. I did all that stuff. That was in 2017.
5 years to install headlights.
5 years.
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
Years. Yeah, man. There's a lot of projects going on. But I checked one off, baby. Checked one off.
I don't believe you're ever going to get invited to one of those build-off shows.
The 5-year build, man. It's. All right, Alan, great job. We're going again. We are going again. I'm excited. I have so many good things ahead. But you know what? I did have a weird thing I wanted to mention. And, watching everybody last night, watching the NFL, everybody, like, that's a feeling that we in the motorsports community, we felt it before, but really don't want to feel it ever again. And so I don't know what to say to even bring up something, bad. So I just wanted to say, like, hopefully everybody goes out there and goes over their car and thinks about safety and thinks about their belts and their heim joints and everything on a car that needs to be looked at, before they go out and race it. And that, I mean that from the highest level to the weekend bracket racer, to the person who, they're going 14 seconds out there. Like, everybody really, really go over your P's and Q's and nuts and bolts and all your safety stuff really, really hard this year. If we can avoid any negative stuff this year by being a little proactive, not procrastinative, but proactive, that's a good thing.
I'm with you. I agree. I think that, and that's, this is the time of year to do that, especially if you've got the engine out being freshened up, or if you've got the car apart for whatever reason. It's a great time, grab a couple of wrenches and go check all the nuts and all the bolts, and just, it's amazing if you just take the time to look how often you'll go, that's something that needs to be addressed, because a little crack is not going to get smaller throughout the course of the racing season. And a little tear in the sheet metal is not going to get smaller throughout the course of the racing season. So just go look. It's amazing how often you'll see something that you can fix while it's a little problem, instead of letting it turn into a big one.
Absolutely. Just think about that, folks. Go do it. All right, Alan, great job as usual. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, Joe. We'll see you then.
There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here. I got to remember how to do the show, Alan. Don't worry about it. We're good. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week. First WFO of 2023. All right, guys, we're doing a big push here at the start of the year. Big push, because we got the World Series of Pro Mod coming up. West Buck, we're going to have some of the drivers that are going to be involved in this WFO deal. I'm going to be over there in Bradenton. It's going to be good stuff. That's exciting. We've got divisional racing in Orlando, February 6th and 7th. I'm going to be out there at Orlando Speed World. You're all welcome to come out and hang out, like get to that race. Come watch divisional racing. All kinds of good stuff. Engine Performance Expo coming up the 13th and 14th of January. All kinds of good stuff going on, but we want our biggest year ever of WFO radio. And so hopefully you will join us as we, present new sponsors, especially our membership club. Patreon.com/WFO radio. The logo right there, Patreon. Go to WFOradio.com. You can find Patreon. It's a whole nother feed of behind the scenes WFO information and some little communications. You get to participate in our Ignition show. Many of you get to all kinds of stuff. Not really. It's how much do you love WFO, right? But what we're doing, we have 65 people who are on there now as patrons. What we're doing is going to really work hard to make that another destination for the most hardcore of WFO fans. And up till now, I have been kind of self-deprecating, like, oh, it's not good, or, oh, you're not really getting anything. But that's my way of lowering expectations. And then over-delivering, making people feel good about the $5 or $10 or $20 a month that they spend. And that's up to them, right? I sent out swag, get a patch, you get decals, you get a pin to acknowledge your patronage. It is a pretty cool thing. But most importantly, and I can't really take credit for this, I don't think, it's the community of drag racers and drag racing people who have chosen to support WFO behind the scenes by being a member. Patreon, patreon.com/WFO radio. You can get there through the website, and you can sign up and you can join up and be a part of this community, which is just so crazy because they are friends and they're happy birthday to each other and they're sharing photographs. All the good of social media with none of the bad. There's never been an argument. There's never been a fight. There's never been guys attacking each other about, political stuff. That's not what happens. It's just a pure drag racing WFO community. And if you'd like to get a yearly membership, now is the time, because you get the full year and you can sign up in January. So we're doing a big push for our WFO patronage, and hopefully you'll join us and you will see if I can over deliver. Because those are your expectations. We'll see if I can over deliver. Let me tell you about the people who support the show while you guys put your comments in the comment section, because I want to know what you think we should cover in 2023. Prior to the Gator Nationals, what are you most excited about? What are you most interested in? I already told you we're going to get a heavy dose of the World Series of Pro Mod. That's definitely happening. And throughout January through March, it's coming up quick, guys. It's coming up quick. It's going to go by so fast. We have to connect with our Lucas Oil champions. We got to connect with Erica and Matt Smith. So we got a bunch of shows already, plus all the news breakers. We're going to get into all of that. I want WFO listeners to be more connected to what's going on here in the universe. So put some stuff in the comment section right now. Let's hear what you think as we tell you about RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. 817-924-6821. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Ask him about the coffee, the hot sauce, the spice rub, the temperature thermometers for your grills, the tools, the tips, the information. There's so many great things going on at Rodax down there in Fort Worth, Texas. Call Marvin. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. I had a couple of people reach out to me. They got the Dragster Adventure as a Christmas gift for someone. And it's not just for a Christmas gift, though. It's a great experience. People go to Frank for the entertainment, for the experience, for the knowledge. You might be a bracket racer. You might be thinking to yourself, this is the year I'm going to win that big money race. Well, do yourself a favor and go do a session with Frank Hawley and get your mind right and make sure there is not something, every one of his classes is affordable for what it is. He has priced everything. If you were going to do it all by yourself and not get the Frank Hawley knowledge, it would still cost you a considerable amount of money. Why not go see Frank, the one that so many greats who have struggled and gotten better have chosen to use? Go to frankhawley.com. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio and see what's right for you. And if you're just an adrenaline junkie, definitely do the Dragster Adventure. Samtech.edu, Brian Massengill and family, they are back to pre-pandemic enrollment. Very exciting to hear that Samtech is doing so well. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. They're located in Houston, Texas. They are doing engine block programs, cylinder head programs, CNC programming programs, motorsport EFI tuning. If you are looking for an education in this field, a very valuable field, because jobs in this area are going to go through the roof as many people are retiring. We need engine builders. We need machinists. But also, you've got all this infrastructure work that is getting ready to start here in the United States of America as we redo bridges and ports and roads. And not all of that is CNC machine oriented, but many of it is. And whether you're machining for an engine or you're machining for the machine that builds the highway, you're machining. These jobs are necessary. What's our biggest problem here in the United States is we don't have enough people to do the jobs. Samtech.edu. Whether you want to work at SpaceX or NASA or, Stanfield Racing Engines, go to samtech.edu. Guys at Bernie's Speed Shop, Josh Hart, Bernie's.com. Go check out the inventory, the story. Anything is possible. Josh Hart started out going door to door, asking people, can I detail your car? And now he's got 100,000 square feet up there in Ocala, Florida. And WFO is going to be there one way or another in the coming months. Bernie's.com. Phillips Connect, of course. Phillips-Connect. If you're in the trucking industry, if you've got a fleet, if you're interested in Phillips Connect, reach out to me, Joe, at WFOradio.com. I can put you together with the folks at Phillips Connect, and we can have your fleet smartified. Smart trailer technology, sensors from nose to tail to keep things safer. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. FTI, DeLand, Florida. Big money bracket racing, high-powered top dragster, top sportsman, pro modified. They do the torque converters. They do the transmissions. But you don't have to have, those are all high-dollar cars I just listed. Maybe you want a shift kit for your Turbo 350 and you want it to be right. They do those as well. FTIperformance.com. Total Seal Piston Rings. Go to YouTube. Engine Performance Expo YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's all part of a network, an ecosystem. We did a holiday party with Hartford and Lake Speed during the holidays, thus holiday party, and talked a little bit about what's happening with the sharing of information within Total Seal and their partners. The education, the trackside tech talks, the videos that Reinhart has done, the sharing of information. Once upon a time, you wanted to keep your information secret, and people would come to you because you have the secret information. But then somebody else would have secret information, and your time might have been passed. Now what's happening is Total Seal has formed this network of information sharing, and they're growing faster than ever because they're telling people how to do it. And someday they'll end up a Total Seal customer. And I think Matt Hartford deserves a lot of credit for understanding that. TotalSeal.com. And then there's Foggit, world-class engine protection. Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams getting together for this brand new brand. You can go to Foggit.com, and the way I see it, every race car trailer should have a can of Foggit. At the end of the day, you hit it with a little Foggit. We have shared a video just yesterday of Gary showing how to, you're spinning over the engine, you hit each of the venturis of the carburetor, like once around. You can go see the video. But what does this do? It protects the inside, the most critical part of your engine. It protects it. You're out there waxing your car. You're out there doing all this stuff to make it beautiful. The inside of your engine, the cylinder walls, are the most important to what you've done. And you're going to leave them unprotected. And so you will have condensation causing microscopic rust, ruining your ring seal, and you're wondering why your engine is slowly wearing out. Not only that, but it has to do with consistency on the racetrack as well. Go to Foggit.com to find out more information, and we will be telling you a lot about that in the coming weeks and months. Very excited. All right, let's see what everybody has to say. Look at that. I didn't lose everybody during the spots. Look, guys, this is a sponsored live stream podcast. I'm so happy to have people that believe in me. And every once in a while, I got to tell you about them. And sometimes it's going to change, and sometimes it's going to be the same. And you might not need this product right now, any of them, but someday you will. And you remember, man, that show was pretty good, so I'm going to use it. Well, I'm telling you about stuff. The WFO store is rocking merch. Get your merch for the season. All right, let's see what people have to say before I get out of here. Right? I had Steve Brenwald make this wonderful sponsor banner, and I'm not using it enough. I got to use it more. Right? We're all refining our product. But see, here's the thing. Great for firearms as well. Way to go, Jeff. Great for firearms as well. Exactly. Anyone with a firearm needs a can of Foggit. Sick week. So the sick week thing, I didn't get to do it last year. I don't know if I'll be able to do it this year, but it's a Florida thing. It's very exciting. And Derek Putnam, my good friend, Derek Putnam, who came up, Derek and I have been racing together for, our whole lives, pretty much. He has gone and he's involved with Sick Week, and I don't think it would be a problem to get him on to talk a little bit about it. So it could be very interesting. See, I don't like the way that the comments cover the logos on the sponsor frame, and that's probably why I'm not using it. See, look at that. We're tuning things up here. Stephen Glenn just wondered if you got the book I sent. Yes, Stephen, I did get the book. Thank you very much. It is in the other room. I should have unboxed it on the air. That's my bad. But thank you, Stephen, for sending me something. And I went to the P.O. box and I found some envelopes and Christmas cards, and I sent out some stickers. And thanks to everybody who is corresponding back and forth with me. Roscoe P. Coltrane says, I'm already a machinist. Okay. And is it a good gig? Roscoe, do you love your job? Do you show up to work feeling good about it? Is it like the TPS reports in Office Space? Like what of it, Roscoe? You got a chance to totally undermine my entire spot by saying no. Mountain Motor Pro Stock, very excited. All the Mountain Motor guys, I was hanging out with them in the Total Seal booth at PRI, and John DeFlorian and others, they're very excited about their season. People don't forget, they were kind of, going like gangbusters. Everybody was excited about them when the pandemic happened, right? And we lost our footing. But now it's gone. Has there been any rumors going on about a track to replace Wild Horse after the season? From my perspective, no, I haven't heard any rumors. I don't know what would be a track to replace it, but we definitely need tracks to replace the tracks we're losing. Or maybe not. that's another thing. Susan Wade had an Auto Week column this winter break about the 10 things she wished for the new year of NHRA. And one was reduce the schedule. And I have made it very clear over the years, Bobby Bennett is a reduce the schedule person and Susan Wade is a reduce the schedule person. And I disagree with that. Reduce the schedule. But the schedule is being reduced naturally. Like we're seeing it happen accidentally. Like we don't want it to be reduced. It's being reduced. So, maybe the reduce the schedule people are getting exactly what they've always wanted by tracks going away. I don't know. I don't know if I agree or disagree with that. It's just kind of a statement of fact. Nitro Legend Funny Car Series. That could be interesting. I had a great time with those guys out there. They hammer. Nitro and more Pro Mod for sure. Of course, Nitro. You guys got to say that. Like cover Nitro. Pro Mod. Everyone loves Pro Mod. I love Pro Mod too. I'm very interested to see where Pro Mod goes this year. Do you have a New Year's resolution? I told the Patreons about the New Year's resolution today. The answer is not really. All the New Year's resolutions from the past combined again, except do the little things that help me get there. Okay? The little things. The blocking and tackling of life. Planning ahead. Being organized. How about that? Planning ahead. Being organized. Doing my research. Like, I don't have to do a ton of research. I just got to get ahead of it. I've got to put things away. My friends always tell me, put things away as soon as you're done using them. And like the blocking and tackling of life. And guys, like the 5-year headlight project came with various things going on that I'm not telling you about. But finally, I just said, I'm doing it, and I did it, and it's done. So, but yeah, 5 years on a project, too long. We'll be in Orlando the prior week. Damn it. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Orlando Speed World. NHRA Division 2, first race of the year. They say people don't show up and buy tickets because of the announcer. Let's prove them wrong. I treat the BMX bike the same way after each race, check all the bolts. You got to do it. Bye-bye. Safety first always. And that's it. And I think we're going to do some shows along those lines as well. Reduce the schedule. What the heck? Yeah, people say reduce the schedule. I don't know. It worked with Pro Stock, they say, that if we lowered the schedule, more people would show up. I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think make it do what they're already doing, make it better. Like, what world do we live in that there's a track that wants to host an NHRA national event and we tell them no? That's where I'm at, right? No, you've got a good quality facility with enough space and we're not going to do it. Like that, I don't think that's the universe we live in right now. Lights on the golf cart. Exactly. Montana needs a pro track for open really racing, I guess. Fast Eddie. Maybe they can bring Virginia back next year. I hope they can. Bug Barn. Retired machinist. Wish they had it when I started. Talking about Samtech. That's great. Roscoe P. I work at Dakota Digital Automotive Gauges. Love machining. He loves it. That's the thing. You got to love your job, guys. You got to love it. Besides the Alan Reinhart previews and recaps of races, I would like to see the same thing with NHRA on Fox Crew. What, like on this show? Yeah, the NHRA on Fox Crew, you can watch Brian's podcast. Brian's got a podcast. Amanda's got, they all got podcasts, man. They all got podcasts. They're not going to come here, put views on WFO stuff every week. That would be too much to ask of my great friends. Did you enjoy the holiday party, Blake? Was that not amazing? I think it was. Purchase the FIA t-shirt. AJ loves it. That's great. NHRA Heritage. Nostalgia stuff. Man, we got a lot to cover. Thanks, Joe. 27 days to go. You and me. What's happening in 27 days? Oh, the big birthday. The big 5-0. You're not 5-0, are you, Gary? So everyone's asking me about the, I'll tell you about it on the Ignition show. You guys have to have a reason to, US 131, man. I don't know what happened. That track, that should be an NHRA facility. I don't know why. Like, such great things can maybe happen there, but whatever. You can't get everything, right? It's never going to be perfect. Final thought. It's never going to be perfect. Everybody is always trying to get the world to be perfect. And the day the world is like announced and the presidents come on TV and they say, we fixed everything. The world is now perfect. That's when the giant meteor comes. And we don't want that. So there's always going to be a challenge. There's always going to be an issue. There's always going to be some sort of something that can be made better, but we're working hard to make it happen. Like my lights project on the golf cart, the project golf cart lights. Got the golf cart running, golf cart ran. Changed the oil, swapped out all the stuff, got rid of all the concrete, drove it around the neighborhood, switched the carburetor, got it running, pretty good. But it had no lights. Bought the lights. The lights sat there for ages and ages and ages. And you know what? Now the lights are on it. And I drove it around on New Year's Eve. Like 1 a.m. driving around my neighborhood. Steady progress. Good things will happen. That is it. Rally racing. No, Joe, I will be 59. Oh, you're going to be 59. See, I'm going to turn the big 5-0. Giant meteor. Right. The day they announce everything is perfect, that's when the giant meteor comes. It summons the giant meteor, in fact. There's no such thing as a perfect world, perfect drag racing world. How about the video of Scotty Cannon warming up the Pro Mod again? Yeah, that was exciting. What was that all about? I couldn't get video out of it for whatever reason. I was having an internet problem, but I saw the wheels turning. Great show. Thanks a bunch. All right, guys, here's the deal. Big push. WFO 2023. I need you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and share. Don't be afraid to evangelicalize about me getting the words out for the show in 2023. You are our best form of marketing. We're going to do an ignition tonight. It's Sue Morris's birthday. That is audio only. And that'll be the final show of the week. Next week, we'll be back in full because I'm going to work on some projects related to the race car. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks to Alan Reinhart. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We'll see you next time. Hit that archive. Best of isn't over, by the way. WFO.